Hello and welcome back to AWS On Air, coming at you live from the DC Summit. Amster and the Brit here again with you. In case it's not clear, I'm the Brit. Steve Roberts, developer advocate for .NET and PowerShell at AWS, and Amster is?
I'm a solutions architect. They could have never figured that out. I'm glad you told them that, Steve. That's very helpful.
Well,
we're still here.
Distinguish. We're still here. We're still here. And we're joined right now by Sid, who's going to be talking about Cloud WAN and hybrid connectivity. So Sid, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Sid. I'm a principal solutions architect with AWS. I've been with AWS for roughly 8 years now. So happy to be chatting to you guys today.
So I know we're going to go straight into a demo shortly, but first, what is Cloud WAN, to set some context?
Yeah, I mean, Cloud WAN is a service which we released at reInvent in November of last year. It's an AWS service which lets you connect your VPCs, your on-premises networks, like your data centers, remote locations, all together in one unified network, and across AWS regions, so it's a global service. Now, Cloud WAN has a lot of functionality. It lets you create policies, and using these policies, you can define your security posture, and we'll see what that is in the demo. It also lets you automate common network tasks. It gives you a single point of dashboard where you can look at your entire network, all the different components of it. You can also monitor your network for performance, health. And finally, it's a managed service, so you don't have to provision for capacity. It automatically scales, it's agile, and you pay for what you use.
Awesome, all right. So, can we take a look?
Oh yes, absolutely.
All right.
So, for the demo today, I have created a sample setup, which we're going to look at next. All right, so for the demo setup, we have 3 AWS regions. We have US East 1, EU West 1, AP South 1. And the goal here for the demo is to connect all of them together using Cloud WAN and see how Cloud WAN can help with that.
Okay.
In our AWS regions, I've created multiple VPCs. So we have a prod VPC, development VPC, and a shared services VPC where we will host services like NAT gateway for centralized internet egress. I'm going to create 3 segments. I briefly mentioned that Cloud WAN lets you create a security posture. So with Cloud WAN, you can create multiple segments. Segments are isolated boundaries within your global unified network. We will connect the VPCs into segments. So the prod VPCs connect into the prod segment. The non-prod VPCs, the dev VPCs connect into the non-prod segment, and the shared services into its segment. Now, by default, all of the VPCs within a segment can communicate with each other, but the segments cannot talk to each other. So that's the security boundary we create. Typically on-premises, people understand this as VRFs, which is within a virtualization within your routers. Or if you are using MPLS, then we have L3 VPN over MPLS. So it's a similar concept. Now we'll define a security policy in such a way that the prod segment will be able to send traffic to shared services segment. The non-prod segment will be able to send traffic to shared services segment. But non-prod and prod segment will not be able to communicate with each other.
Okay.
Let's make it more interesting. What I'll also do is I'll create a VPC in an external account. This can be a partner account, a vendor account. Now you don't want that account to be communicating with your core segments. So I'll create an external segment, and I'll map the VPC to that segment. And I'll say the only access this external segment gets is to the non-prod segment, and nothing else. Right? So it's quite a detailed setup here. So we are going to implement that. Just to recap, so we have 4 segments: non-prod, prod, shared services, external segments. I think we already explained what that is, so I'll skip the details here. This is what our security policy is going to look like. Dev VPCs can communicate with each other, prod can communicate with each other, but no communication between dev and prod. Shared services can communicate with dev and prod. And finally, VPCs in shared services are isolated, and external segment is shared only with non-prod. I also mentioned policies enable you to automate stuff. So here, our attachments, our VPC attachments will be based on tags. So I'll just tag my attachments and it automatically gets associated with the right segment.
Oh, cool. So you don't even have to add it manually or
No
anything.
manual tasks.
That's
and
beautiful.
everything is through a single policy. That's where the simplicity and the power of Cloud WAN lies.
Love it.
And finally, the external segment will be based on account ID. So any VPC in that account ID will automatically be mapped to an external segment.
Okay.
So different ways of associating VPCs to your segments, either through tags, either directly, or through based on account ID. So let's jump into it. So this is my AWS console right here. And this is the VPC dashboard. If we scroll down on the left, there is AWS Cloud WAN Network Manager. As I click onto it, it's going to open the AWS Network Manager console. Within that, you can see I've already created a global network. So I won't be creating a whole bunch of stuff here, but I'll be showing you my existing setup and how it looks. I mentioned you get a single pane of dashboard, single pane of glass. So this clearly shows in my global network, I have 3 edge locations or 3 regions, US East 1, EU West 1, AP South 1. We can go into the details. So on the left, I navigate to my core network. Here, I was talking about the monitoring as well, so this shows some of the details there. But let's jump into the topology tree. So this lets you visualize your global network as well. Let me enable segments.
Oh,
I
nice.
see. Yeah, okay.
So you can see my core network has 3 regions.
Yeah.
And within AP South 1, I have 3 segments. And then it also shows you what VPCs are associated with each segment. Right? So when you're building this really large, complex networks, having this simple view makes it really easy to understand what's in your network. And you can click and drill down and exactly figure out
Yeah, this
what's
is
happening
a lot
within the
simpler
network.
than having to jump between different regions looking at what's configured. I can just see everything right here.
So can I ask
Exactly.
real quick too? I saw on the other page, transit gateway. So is it able to detect transit gateway peering and add those in
So
as well?
at the moment, transit gateway connectivity into your Cloud WAN network
Right.
is not supported, but that's something which I've already mentioned is going to be supported at GA,
Oh,
which
nice.
is expected later this summer.
Wonderful.
So you will be able to connect your transit gateways to Cloud WAN, and the visualization you see here, you see VPCs, you'll be able to see transit gateways in here as well.
Very cool. Very cool.
Perfect. So let's go back.
Yeah, we've got about 1 minute, Sid.
Okay.
Show us the most important thing.
Okay, so let's look at the policies, right? So I mentioned everything can be executed through policies.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to show you that. So I've created multiple policies. You can see policy version 11, so you can
So
roll
the
back,
version.
go back to a previous
Okay.
policy version as well. And this is the JSON, right?
Oh,
so this
wow.
is where all the magic happens. So I've defined my entire network, all the security boundaries, or everything I mentioned, everything has been done through this policy. The best thing, if you make a change to the policy, it shows you the different chain sets, exactly what changes you have done, and you can verify those changes before implementing a policy. If something bad happens, you can roll back to a previous policy, right? So this policy-based deployment integrates very well with DevOps.
Yeah,
And if you're
the structure is
enabling
good.
self-service to others, then you can monitor all of this through these policy documents. So I think this policy document is a new way of doing networking and gaining a lot of popularity. So that complex setup which we saw, everything is done through
one
this
place.
policy document.
I really like that. Yeah, I like how the single pane of glass to see the network, the single document to find the policies. This has been great. Thanks for joining us
Yeah.
to show us this. And
Yeah,
we'll
thanks
be
for
right
having me.
back. Right,
Yeah.
thanks, Sid.
Stick around.